In this episode, we explore the transformative potential of AI in the insurance industry with Kaleraj Ramasamy, KR, an IT veteran with over 25 years of experience in building world-class applications. KR shares his insights on how AI can revolutionize areas like text, vision, and speech recognition. Subscribe to the channel for more informative content like this.
Hello and welcome everyone for another interview episode. This is Riaz Yusuf. I'm a Chief Information Officer and your host. Today, I'm excited to have with us Kaleraj, shortly known as KR Ramasamy, who's the Director of Engineering at Aspire Systems. We are going to talk about AI and the things surrounding AI with Kaleraj. I'm so looking forward to our conversation today, Kaleraj. Welcome to the show. And could you please introduce yourself, KR?
Hey, Riaz, thanks for having me here, and very, very happy to talk to your viewers today. It's good, finally we managed to talk today. Happy to talk and share some of my experience in the AI space, or in general, the IT industry. I'm in the IT industry for the last 25 plus years of time. Happy to share my experience with your viewers today. Yes.
Oh, that sounds like a wonderful idea, KR. So let's start from there. So you are a person that looks like having a lot of industry experience. So let us know what your experience is. Why don't you give us a synopsis of your experience, how it started and where you are now, what you are focusing right now and stuff like that.
Sounds great. So I have started my career 25 years before. Into the industry, we are multiple hats, starting with in a developer, played multiple roles. Today, now I play the role of Director of Engineering. I always had a passion towards building world-class application, which cut across people, human life, right? So that's my passion. So always product engineering comes first into my priority. Have worked at multiple companies and finally settled with where I found as a home. That's where I'm working for the last 20 plus years of time. Have played multiple roles is what I was talking about. Pretty much into the insurance industry is what I was focusing on all this while. So all the applications that we develop that I spearhead for insurance industry.
I see. Okay, sounds good. So you mentioned something like product and how it intersects with people's life. Could you expand on that? I don't think I quite understand what you mean by that.
Yeah. So important thing is, we have to make meaningful impact every human life. That's what I would say the moral obligation of everybody, right? So when you're born in this world, you have to create an impact someone else's life. That's what you should aspire for. One bigger medium is the technology. When you create useful products for people, that's how you will elevate humankind to the next level. So we work on multiple industries. I have chosen to work in insurance industry. Insurance plays a crucial role. All of us know without insurance we cannot live with it. So that is where I found my passion, creating application, how we can get needful policy in everybody's hand, how we can create systems that will help them to, when there is a need, when there is a claim, how we can make the claim adjudicated much faster through technology. That is what we have been focusing, and that is what we have done it all this while in my experience.
I see. Very helpful. Wonderful. I mean, it sounds like you have a passion in helping people through products. So these two things basically coincide and in the work that you are doing. And that's the best case scenario, right? You can be very engaged in your job as long as you have a passion for what you're doing. That's great. You mentioned needful policy. That might be an industry term for you guys in insurance, but I'm not very familiar. Could you clarify what that means?
And needful policy, inclusion, right? So banking and insurance, these two are definitely needed even for underprivileged. There are people who comes under the vicinity and coverage of some of the benefits and leverages that we have That's not happening with everybody else. So creating policy for everybody is one important aspect, I would say, like, banking. So that is when, like, what is insurance policy is all about. It's about covering your risks and guarding your risks, right? That's how that's where it is. So taking the policy across everybody's hand through technology only possible is what I strongly believe, and that is where technology enablement is very, very important for insurers.
Wonderful. Thank you for the clarification, KR. So let's talk about AI. You had a very good point that technology helps to accelerate the availability and accessibility of insurance in your case, but pretty much a lot of things. That's where technology accelerates things for companies and for people in general. So where do you see the application of AI in your industry? What are some of the thoughts that you have where AI may not be leveraged today, but I'm asking more from the futuristic standpoint, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. What are you envisioning in terms of the usage of AI in your industry?
Yeah. So while we talk about the need for insurance, insurance as a business, it's for risk and very risky business too. The insurance needs to be commercially successful. At the same time, the insurer who's getting insured, they should also be not taxed too much, right? Now it's a balancing act between both.
Right.
What happens in the insurance industry, interestingly, if there are a lot of claims, then insurer might increase the premium, and that is kind of going to tax people who are buying the insurance policy, right? So that shouldn't be happening. And the other way, like, when they have not collected enough of premium, if at all there is a risk which happened, then insurer ended up paying money for that insurance premium, right? For that insurance policy. In this case, insurer would get impacted. Now, how this is a very, very interesting challenge, right? How this can be mitigated. Insurance coverage, you have it for everything, right? Some of them are within our control, some of them are not within our control. For example, natural calamities. If there is a flood, cyclone, things of that happens. Now, you never know when it is going to happen, right? When it happened, how much are you prepared? Who is accountable for it? When the loss happened, whether insurance company should bear it, or the people have to pay premium in advance and wait for a situation like this, and then insurance company should pay for it. So things of this is very, very complicated. That is where technology comes into play. You were asking about how AI can solve some of these problems, right? AI has just started now. Some of you would have already experiencing text-based impact on AI. When I say text-based impact, AI can play lot of impactful role in three different areas. Starts with text, vision, and audio, right? So these three areas is what AI can play a crucial role. Now, all the features, the use cases that you are experiencing with, most of it is on text-based, whether it is a conversational AI,
as a language model, basically.
Language model, as a conversational AI or text summarization. That's what we have been experiencing with. Even for this, people are so excited, what AI can do for them. Already people's lives started to become easier in some of the scenarios.
Very true.
But the profound impact that you see only when the vision and audio comes into picture. So vision and audio, the sound, right? Vision and audio makes much more impact in human life compared to text, which is yet to come. The technology is ready. Whether the computational power of AI algorithms that are being ready, the right business use cases is what the businesses are looking for it, and already teasers have come out. I'm very, very sure that all of our life is going to be completely changed from now to another few years. Yes.
No doubt. Thank you. You put it in a very subtle but impactful way in regards to where AI could help. I would like to slightly shift the focus to taking us to another 10,000 or 20,000 foot higher. You are a director of engineering and you have background in engineering, right? So if you think of engineering in general, I'm not talking about IT, engineering in general, do you see a role of AI, or is it mostly AI is applicable, you think, mostly in IT because it's so easy to integrate a tool like AI into the back end of applications in IT, but I'm not sure if that's possible in every engineering aspects. So what are your thoughts on that?
So definitely AI is not for IT child alone. I would say AI is for everybody, and AI is there in some form already. AI is definitely not new. AI is what? AI is more of an algorithm. That has been invented decades before. Now, why so much of buzz about AI today? It's becoming accessible for layman. When I say layman, for anybody who's
Yes.
not expert into algorithms, they are able to access, interface, interact with these algorithms now.
True.
In the past, only it was like untouchable, right? In the past, only PhDs and data scientists are the one who were playing with it. Today, the emergence of LLM, large language model, provided way to interface with these algorithms. That's a beauty of the development. Now that it is on everybody's hand, the power has started to unleashed. Everybody started to feel what it can do. By the way, your question is whether this is only for IT or for everywhere else, right? I was saying you AI was there even before. See, when I say AI was there even before, it is not in the form of what we are experiencing today, but in the form of whatever computation happens, right? Your refrigerator, even within your refrigerator, some of the smart functionality, where some level of AI. See, the term AI is very debatable. Even today, what do we have? Whether it is 100% AI or not, by definition, that's a debatable point. Some people might say
Good point.
AGI is AI. What we have or what we call today as AI is not AI, is what people debate. I'm not getting into that debate of it, but what I'm talking about it, a computer program that can do smarter things that we are all expecting all this while. If you put that as a definition for AI, then yeah, that's a AI we are talking about. It is there in some form or other the past as well. Now we have a nicer way of interfacing, interacting with these programs, and this is going to get better and better. And probably everybody's going to agree when we reach the state of AGI. Everybody's going to say that AI has reached the maturity level of what human intelligence we have it.
So what is AI and AGI? Could you
Yeah,
share
yeah.
the difference?
Artificial general intelligence, that's a full form of AGI. AI is just artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence, when we say artificial intelligence, you have to train the large language models, the language model that you have to train. Whatever that you train on, that's what this is going to perform, right? The language models are going to perform. When you reach the state of artificial general intelligence, like human, right? When scenarios are put forth in front of you, you think based on the knowledge what you have, the unencountered, untrained scenarios, you are eligible enough to you will handle it based on your intelligence what you have. Uh, but that part is missing with the AI today. Anything which you haven't not trained, the AI is not going to solve it today. But when you reach the state of AGI, it's going to take its own judgmental call, and it's going to perform what that judgment says so. So that's when people fear about it, right? The moment once it reaches AGI, if it started to take its own judgmental call, will it be biased, unbiased? What kind of consequences that we will be facing is what people worried about it. So whether AGI is
Absolutely.
important or not, for AI, That's another debatable point.
Oh, okay. Thank you for sharing that. That sounds scary, right? If AI starts to think on its own, like a human brain, that sounds scary. To your point, whether or not the decisions made by AGI are going to be ethical or relevant or safe, those things come into play, right? I mean, then who would you make accountable for if AGI makes a decision that results in a calamity? Who do you put in the jail for, right? There is nobody to chase after.
Absolutely, Riaz. Now, see, that's when the regulation plays a bigger role. The power of AI can be managed and controlled only through regulation. Now, AI is going to be biased, and being biased is okay, because now that's how the world operates, right? We are all biased. Whatever we all say something as good, that is a biased opinion by a larger audience, right? There is nothing wrong. There is nothing called good or bad.
Very true. Very true.
Good and bad, we define good and bad by the majority, right? So we are all biased towards certain thing, and we have certain values to be believe in, right? The same way AI has also been regulated by regulatory bodies. There are a lot of activities are happening around that. Governments are watching it very clearly and keenly to regulate the power of AI itself. Yes.
Okay, that's a good point you're making. I'm sure you would have seen in the news about Air Canada, their chatbot issued an incorrect policy information to one of the customers, and they ended up suing the airlines for that. And there was some big settlement that happened after that. And I heard since then Air Canada paused their chatbot feature. I'm not sure if they reversed it at this time or not. However, my point is sometimes relying on technology like AI, which can be perceived to have its own brain, right? So when you rely on technology like this, you talked about regulation. It could be a little too late to enforce any regulation. What I'm wondering about is, are there ways to proactively set up some regulation such that before the damage occurs, we get to catch? I'm hoping maybe there's another technology intervention, another technology audit that can happen that could regulate the potential damage which otherwise could happen.
Yeah, I would definitely wanted to start saying, I'm not trying to defend for AI, but having said that, I have written an article sometime before. I mean, when I said sometime before, very long time before, I have written an article. Very soon, human are going to punish AI. That's the title of the article.
Interesting title.
Humans are going to punish AI, right?
Okay.
Why I have written something like that? Because I knew at the time of AI evaluation, there is a lot of approximation is going to happen. Things of this is definitely going to happen, and human are going to conveniently attribute all of these failures against AI. AI won't fail. AI can't fail. What is AI? That's where the louder call out has to happen. What is AI? AI is a program. AI is an algorithm. Who is using the algorithm? Who has built that application? Who has trained that application? With what data? How did they have tested that application? Those are all the questions has to be asked first before even we say AI has failed it. AI will not fail. AI can't fail. In fact, for AI, there is nothing called failure. AI does not know what is right and wrong also. AI knows if you give some input, what output it has to give. That's all AI knows. If you think it gives you wrong input, that means you haven't trained rightly.
That's true.
It's a problem of the one who has trained it. Then it's like growing up the child, right? If you feed in with wrong information to the child, you cannot expect something right from them. So that's how it has to be treated.
Okay, so garbage in, garbage out is always the case, but in case of AI, it could be more garbage. The quantity of the garbage could be a lot more than what you actually feed in. So That's a wonderful point you're making. Thanks for mentioning about your article. That's an interesting title. I will get the link to the article from you and include it in the show notes for the reference to my audience. That's great. Another thing I want to ask you is there is one of the buzz that's happening around AI is the concern or the fear that people have that AI could replace people's job. So I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts around that?
That's a pretty good question, and the timing of the question is also very right on time. You are asking this question, right? This is something I hear across, and a short answer to you: yes, definitely AI is going to take a lot of people's job. I'm not here emotionlessly saying that's okay, that's going to happen, it's fine. That's not my stand. I do feel, I do care about people who are going to lose their job. But one thing I wanted to say loud and clear here, it's not just AI, right? It's not just AI. Even before any evaluation that you take, every other evaluation would have taken some people job, right? So for an analogy, let's talk about phone, right? Touch phone versus the previous model phones, keypad
Yeah.
based phones, right? Just think of it, all of a sudden Steve Jobs has come in and said touch phones are going to come in. What happened for the people who are all were in the business of keypad based business, right? There could have been a lot of manufacturers, there could be a lot of workers who were part of those companies. What are they doing now? Where did they go? This is not just one evaluation, right? Any evaluation you take, anything that you take in your life, when there is a newer evaluation, newer improvement comes, that means the older thing has to go away. Now, what I would request to the policymakers, to the influencers, to the businessmen, whomever can influence the system. There is a strong term called soft landing, pretty popular term, soft landing, that you hear quite often for the recession feared people, right? That's pretty commonly heard word in the market, right? So I would say that soft landing is what needed in the AI world also. So, in fact, my next article is going to be "Let's Land AI Softly," is what I'm going to write about it. When I say that, what I mean, a gradual transition to an extent. When I say gradual transition, I'm not trying to hold AI evaluation pace. At the same time, this needs some level of pull, some level of push to anybody who is going to get impacted. What I mean by pull and push here, probably you have to push few people who are resisting this change. Only then they are going to adapt it. There are few people we had to pull. When I say we had to pull, we had to extend our hands. Few people may not able to understand and adapt technology advancement like this at a fast scale. So that's when people like us, we have to extend our hand and pull them up. So pull and push has to happen. And a soft landing of AI is what much needed, and we cannot stop it. And if you say people are going to lose the job, probably they are going to lose the job. We need not to be worried for losing the job. Rather, we should be helpful enough to give them a new job. That's what should be our focus, Yusuf.
Wonderful. Well said, KR. I'm looking forward to reading your next article. That's another interesting title as well. Soft landing of AI. That's great. That's great. So you made a very good point that going forward, one of the responsibilities of leaders is to help others embrace AI and possibly other technologies that come forward. That's a very good point. If a junior worker in IT or even engineering listens to this conversation, what advice do you have for that individual in terms of placing themselves for success in their career, given all these technology advancements that are happening? What's going to be your advice to that junior worker who's just getting started in their career?
Yeah, in fact, this is another good point. I was thinking about on the same line sometime before as well. I'm least worried about somebody who is getting started. I'm worried most about the one who was, sitting on a career for 20 plus years of time, or for a longer period of time,
Mm-hmm.
right? They are the one who struggle for this change. For the one who's getting started, right? They are open to learn. They are adapting changes without any inhibitions. But the one who has already tasted the existing system, the way of functioning, they are the ones struggling to adapt the new changes.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about the new entrant at all.
Okay, wonderful. So that's very good perspective. Then what is your advice to the experienced workers who might be resistant to change? Right? That's I think that's what you're getting at. They might be resistant to change, and thereby they might miss the opportunity to embrace the change that's happening. So what's
Yeah,
your advice to them?
yeah. So first of all, making them aware of what's going to happen and what's happening, right? See, these two, education is very, very important to them. They think that, like, if they are not going to change, they are not going to lose anything. This is a reasonable fear that has to go in their mind. I know it's going to make them uncomfortable. When at times when you get into an uncomfortable situation, that's when you will find your new comfortable situation. So anybody who's not willing to change, they have to be educated about what's coming on their way and already what's happening in the industry.
Hmm.
Which, uh, without that kind of change, it will become a collective failure. It's not an individual failure, right? See, if one person stop changing in a business, right, he is going to pull the business down, right? So when the business is getting down, it is not just his failure. The
Yep.
entire business is going to fail.
Yep.
So it will become a collective failure. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all of our responsibility to make sure that anybody resisting for this change, they are not only going to fail, they are going to fail all of us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's our own responsibility. We carry that responsibility on our shoulder to make everyone successful.
Yeah. Again, well said. Well said. Um, so as you're seeing this, I'm just my mind just goes through the changes, future changes that are going to happen with AI and other technologies. Earlier, you touched on AI and AGI, right? So AGI sounds like the next big jump from AI. When do you think? What's your prediction? When do you think that's going to happen? What I mean is AGI becoming an accessible commodity for people, like how AI language model is today. For AGI to become like that, how long do you think is going to take?
Yeah, so again, in that also I have a different perspective. I know what the leaders are debating about it, but my perspective is slightly different, which I want all of us to be watchful about also. The reason why I say my perspective is slightly different, my perspective on this is we will never reach AGI status. The reason why we will never reach AGI status, uh, what is AGI is what we should understand first. AGI means artificial general intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
In other words, having intelligence to the level of human. That's what it says. When we
Mm-hmm.
say intelligence to the level of human, who's that human? When the model has become powerful, you are
Mm-hmm.
trying to compare the model's ability against somebody, right? Who's that? Is
Mm-hmm.
that Einstein? Is that Steve Jobs? Or who's that are you going to compare with?
Sure.
Right now, so in this world, if you want to compare against a human, everybody's human. Steve Jobs
Mm-hmm.
is human, I'm human, you are human. So are we talking about the model reaching intelligence level of me or you or someone else or anybody else, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you are aspiring to make your model intelligence equivalent to somebody, that somebody also might have been having intelligence only in certain sector, not in every other sector, right?
Possible, yeah, very much possible.
So this is not going to happen in near future at all. Even if, let's say, a model you have built, let's say, Steve Jobs is good at creativity and he's the toppest human who has the utmost creativity, expertise, IQ, right? Let's say a model is able to perform to the level of Steve Jobs. Human are not going to leave or acknowledge that model has reached that state, right? They are going to ask a question outside of creativity and it's going to fail, and then our humans are going to argue and say, see what, this model, you say it has a IQ level of Steve Jobs in terms of creativity, but it's not able to do something else which I have asked, which is pretty simple, right? This argument will continuously going to happen, so we will never reach AGI, at least from the AI model per se, is what my perspective.
Okay, you have interesting perspectives, that's for sure. Well, only time can tell us what's going to happen. That's great, KR. Before I conclude, KR, I am curious on where my audience can find you and connect with you if they choose to.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And I have my own website, which is www.krkaleraj.com. I write a lot in LinkedIn and my website. People can reach me over there. They can drop their comment and stuff like that. We can always have a chat.
Wonderful. Well, not many of my guests have their own website, so you are one of the unique ones. That's great. That's great. Wonderful. That tells that you're very passionate about writing about these changes, the technology, engineering, and so on and so forth. That's great. Last but not the least, KR, what business book that do you recommend for my audience?
I have come across many, but currently I'm reading one. Probably, I would suggest everybody to read that. The book title called $1 Trillion Coach. That's a book I'm reading it. If you are passionate about business, if you wanted to improve yourself, I think this one book have answers for many of the interesting questions all of us will have.
Okay, another interesting title. I will be sure to find that, find a link to the book and include it in the show notes as well. Wonderful. KR, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I learned quite a bit and also appreciated your very unique perspective. You are not just willing to go with the flow, you are also stepping outside and thinking what else could be happening given where we are in terms of technology and changes in the world overall. So that is great. Is there anything else that you want to mention before we conclude?
Nothing much, Riyas. I think it is definitely very engaging conversation that I had, and you asked me all the good questions. Thanks for having me in this platform and allowing me to share my perspective with your viewers. Nice talking to you, Riyas, and thanks once again for the opportunity to talk. Thank you.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you, KR.